Welcome to another edition of Sunday Market Outlook. We are super grateful and excited to be here with each and every single one of you guys who are ready for another week in the markets. It is March 9th, so kicking off the second week of March. A lot of eventful things going on as far as indices, cryptos, and everything. So we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, I got my co-host, the one and only Mr. Brent Badal, tuning in here with us as well. But yeah, man, excited to see you guys in the chats. Excited to crush another week in the markets. And yeah, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get the show on the road. So Brent, if you can kick us off, man, with news, and guys, really quickly as well. If we do reach our goal of 300 live viewers on the YouTube live today, we will be giving away a funded challenge account. So let's promote. I know we have a couple other calls running right now, but if you guys are here, tapped in, and you guys want your chance at a free funded challenge account, let's push to 300 live viewers, and we will do just that. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Brent, how are you doing, bro?
Amazing, bro. Another blessed and abundant week that we had on the charts for sure. So that's always good. The community was stacked, payouts were done, ranks were hit. It was just a good overall week. Happy with the results as always. Our targets were met as well. So Bitcoin did what we've been talking about for a long time. So yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
we're
what
gonna talk
happened.
about
I mean,
that.
it's just we're literally, it's like that gift that I always send of that guy like that mad magician, whatever guy where he throws a little sparks in the fire. That's pretty much what's been happening. We've been saying and it's been happening. So obviously, as you know, we're not financial advisors, past doesn't promise future, but we have been just nailing it perfectly fine. So today we have, not today, better said, this week, we have another good week when it comes to news. We have a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of action happening. So we're going to go through that. Remember, guys, news, don't fall for the smoke of what's said in the news, right? Don't fall everything for what it said like that. We know what type of news it is to know how to trade that specific news and take the most advantage of it. So this week, we need to keep in mind that a lot of what I'm going to speak right now may change as far as additions, because we have Trump speaks and it's a situation of like, oh, he's speaking. Like it's not something that's really announced like that, and that can continue to happen, right? But as far as scheduled news for the week, and we're talking more than anything about NAS, we do touch gold here and there. I do send gold tap to trades, but more than anything, we're focusing on NAS as we always do. Tomorrow, Monday, we're good. Same thing, obviously, for today. Rarely we have news on a Sunday. The time did change, so obviously that's the only thing that we could talk about, but nothing really in the market, so that'll do. Just the time change for a few people. But as far as tomorrow, Monday, we're good. Really nothing to go, nothing to worry about when it comes to news. Tuesday, we have Jolts. Jolts has been interesting for sure. And it's crazy to say, crazy and good to say, right? It's been interesting because it was on a heavy decline more and more. And we were seeing that go from a yellow folder to an orange folder to a red folder because of how much impact it was. And actually, it's shifting now. So it's shifted a lot. There's a lot of jobs that are now popping back up again. This will be heavy when it comes to companies. So a lot of companies, and we could see a movement on NAS. The reason why I want to emphasize on this is because we have a lot of companies. Apple, I think, was one of them already said, hey, you know what? We pledged that by, I think it was like 26, 27, something like that. They're opening so many manufacturing warehouses here. A lot of automotive manufacturers already said as well, hey, you know what? We're going to move our, I think, what was it? Was it Ford, I think, announced that they're moving their manufacturing warehouse back to, I think it's Indiana or something like that. When they moved it to Mexico, they're bringing it
I
back to
saw
Indiana.
Honda do that.
Honda, yeah, it was Honda. I think it was Honda, right? For they brought it from Mexico, I think, back to Indiana or something like that. So we'll see a lot of that in the Jolt situations. It's going to be really interesting to see that. And I love the time it's happening at 8 Central Standard Time. So that's amazing that it's happening at that time. Then we have Wednesday, we have CPI. Love CPI. So what I want to do this week, guys, just because I went for live for the first time on TikTok, never done it before, live trade on TikTok, because I've been looking for platforms to trade outside of Zoom. Because a lot of times with Zoom, we get stuck on having a limited seats of people, right? And I want to do this where I'm opening for everybody, not just for the platform side of things too. And when it comes to news, there needs to be like picture perfect quality stream. There has to be no delay for this type of news. YouTube unfortunately does have a delay, has like a 10, 15-second delay. For this news, you can't do it. So I said, you know what? Let me just see what TikTok does. It looks really cool because I have the studio thing open. Tested it, guys. It's crazy. It's only a 1 second delay. So what I want to do this week is this week I want to go ahead and work. Wait, is my time thing wrong? I think it's wrong. No, it's right. I want to work this week on scheduling myself to where I could live stream on TikTok all of these news. CPI that's happening Wednesday. So even before my live session that I normally do at 8, I want to go ahead and stream these news on TikTok this week. So just keep an eye on that. But 6:30 Central Standard Time, we have CPI. Then we have this is Wednesday, by the way. We have CPI, then we have crude oils, 10-year bond auction, federal budget balance. So these are the two that we really need to pay attention to, guys. Yes, obviously, we're going to be excited about trading CPI, and we could trade it obviously with a 1 second delay, which is crazy. And there's everybody going to be able to join that. So that's amazing. That's exciting. But really, we need to focus on the long run. Long term, when we talk about 10-year bond, 10-year bond is going to be the auction side of it. So this is going to be important to see where the numbers go. This is going to be important to see of everything like housing, interest rates, the longevity of NAS, so what do you call it? Investments, mutual fund, retirements, like all that type of stuff leans heavily on the 10-year bond. It's going to be the 10-year bond auction. So we need to really pay attention to this to see where these numbers are going to cover, what's going to happen, right? This is really important for the economy itself. Federal budget balances is going to be interesting too, because obviously we've been seeing a lot of the money situation with Doge and all that stuff. So money's randomly popping up, money's disappearing, and all this other stuff. So it's going to be really important to see our federal budget balance from the shift of terms, the presidency, everything that's being found. It's going to be really interesting to see where things are at when it comes to that. So I'm really, really interested in this one. This one's happening at noon. Got to pay attention to that. Oh, Thursday. Oh, come on. Thursday, we go into PPI, same thing. I'm going to look forward to trade that as well live on TikTok, as long as nothing falls into any other things that I have to do. That's going to be interesting as well. And then we have 11 30-year bond, just like the 10-year bond, 30-year bond, same thing. So we need to pay attention to these numbers, see what happens when it comes to that. And then Friday, we close out the week with consumer sentiment, consumer inflation's at 8, another good set of news. So again, as you guys can see, we have a jam-packed week. A lot of good news happening, a lot of good news that'll show us as far as where the dollar is going, a lot of things that have to do with interest rates, a lot of things that has to do with the future of NAS. So lots and lots of good news for us to trade. We're out of the first week, always the first week of the month. I think it's a little bit sketchy as far as where the market goes, where it moves. Thankfully, we had an amazing week on the charts, even though it was the first week of the month. So I'm excited to see the second month, see how many pips we could grab here for the community and what we could do in the charts. But I'll pass it back to you, Rich, so we could look at the NAS chart and take it from there.
For sure, bro. Sounds like a plan. All right. So let's go ahead and get the screen share rolling here. All right. Boom. All right. So we should be good to go. Should be good to go. Now. Me and Brent have been talking about NAS and our targets week in and week out. And I know that Brent is having a field day because Brent loves selling NAS, and we have continued selling off. Now, where we're at right now is going to be an interesting point, but I want you guys to pay attention to, first and foremost, the higher time frames first, because with NAS, we're going to get a lot of fluctuations, both to upside, downside. There's always going to be intraday and scalping so many opportunities. But I think it's very safe to say now that we've pretty much transitioned more into like a bearish overall higher time frame market for NAS than a bullish one. I think overall, we saw, accumulation from mid-December, early January that took us into all-time highs. And we've already had the conversation in prior weekly outlooks, as well as our live sessions on Akashics, about, profit taking at all-time high levels, price needing to kind of rebalance itself and just kind of wash out what has been nonstop bullishness for the past, God knows how long already, months, right? But now is going to be a pivotal decision point for me. Now, things that stand out to me on the daily time frame that are going to be incentives for where price can go. You guys know I always talk about fair value gaps, the importance of it. My personal indicator, that's one of the two things I look at. Now, there's a very interesting fair value gap that lies here at this 19,180 to about 18,940 level. So basically at that 19,000 price point, just to keep it simple. Now, obviously, when we're like all up in this range that we've been in for the last like 3 months, this didn't really matter to me. But now that we have clear trend direction to the downside, I question like, okay, if we continue to just really continue market structure forming lower lows and lower highs, there's no point in us focusing on buying yet. And where we could potentially end up is at that 19,000 price point. Number one, it's a psychological whole number. We know that the market's always going to gravitate towards those in general. And then also, again, fair value gaps are a very important, factor of where I look at why price goes to where it goes. Again, you can kind of see on the indicator that I have here, how we've had like certain fair value gaps that are highlighted here. Price revisits them and then continues. And over, we see that fair value gaps get filled. However, this one right here, we haven't really revisited that area. Again, there was no point in trying to force sells into there when we were just clearly, painting bullish price. But now that we've really shifted structure below that 20,800 level, like very confidently, like close below that. Again, if we continue to get the smaller time frames in alignment with forming lower lows and lower highs, the question is where can price gravitate towards next? Now, when we were finishing Thursday, Friday, where we were up in this 20,500 area, I was just literally looking at simple things like where are the last, lows in the market that existed from the past, because there's going to be liquidity that sits at these lows, right? So from a diagram perspective, if we look at like an uptrend, right? Okay, you have all of these lows that get left along the way, and those are the lows that kind of stair step our way into a bullish trend. Now, when price starts to shift and it actually wants to go bearish, where is the market going to go? It's going to seek the liquidity of the lows from, the past that kind of created that momentum upwards. So basically, when we're selling in that type of environment, my targets are going to be those old lows, right? So I bring that up because that's kind of why I was, in the private mentorship chats of Akashex, we were talking about 19,900 to end the week, because those were very significant lows from the past. When we were up in this price point, I'm like, okay, we're still very bearish. So where's it going to go? This is going to be one of the main targets. Now, we ended the week technically, so Friday technically closed bullish to end the day, but it's a very weak bullish candle. It's not a very strong one. The next significant lows on the daily are going to be at this 19,911, or I'm sorry, 19,637 price point. Yeah, 19,640, give or take. All right. So if we're going to continue pushing bearish, we're most likely going to have to respect 20,600, somewhere in this area generally, to basically reject off of that and then continue pushing into that next level of liquidity. And again, once we hit that target of 20,000 or 19,640, then we look at how does the market react from there. Are we going to get a rejection from there? Are we going to reverse from there? We got to see the smaller time frames, what they tell us. But again, we already achieved this liquidity target. The next one would be this one. And if we break through that with a lot of momentum, then I would basically be very sure that we end up hitting this fair value gap at 19,000, 19,100. And that will be a very interesting point to see if from there, are we ready to turn around? Because to be honest with you guys, like mentally, I'm not really prepared to expect NAS to continue, like, I don't know, below 19,000, like into the 18,000s. Because again, if that happens, we're just going to have to continue looking at what are the old lows, because that's what the market is going to be hunting, right? All of these lows from the past. So again, one step at a time. This is why it's so important to keep up with weekly market outlooks that we do, and to just continue to see the narrative of what NAS is going to do. But as of right now, if this is a liquidity grab that's just going to continue pushing lower, it is going to come grab all of these lows. And that will take us into the 16,000s, which is crazy to think. But that's long term. All right. For now, what I would focus on is just the next major areas, which is going to be 19,640, and then the fair value gap at 19,000. So that's like the higher time frame narrative. Again, I'm focusing on the downside targets just because We've officially shifted structure below these major lows, and we've been clearly hunting liquidity of old lows. So for me to shift my mindset to being bullish right now just doesn't really make sense unless we're looking at short-term opportunities. So again, we're gonna have to obviously allow the sessions to kind of start developing during Asia, London, etc. Once the market opens and seeing, okay, like where are we going? But I wouldn't really focus on buying or like thinking that we were gonna go long-term bullish unless we start to really break and close above 20,500, 20,680, you know. So again, short term, we did kind of shift bullish here to end the day, and we could potentially start moving up, but that may just be short term to continue the, the long term downtrend that we've been in. So that's kind of it from me. Again, the markets aren't even open. I'm just looking at like the overall picture of what we're seeing right now, and I think that's what makes the most sense to me is just to continue assuming that we're bearish until the market really shows us that we're not. So yeah, bro. Brent, I'll let you give your 2 cents as well on that.
Yeah, bro, for sure. As you said, it was an amazing week in the live sessions for sure.
Mhm.
Gold dropped. We had not gold, NAS drop. We had a ton of sell opportunities. Lots of pips made. I'm very happy for that. We had some really good trade alerts as well that got shot out. One hit for TP3 for 1800. So it was good. It was definitely a good week. We were super close to our bear target. So last week, our bear target was 19,630, as you mentioned. Literally, you mentioned that number is 638, something like that. That was the bear target we were waiting for last week. The bull target, we still left it the same. If it once NAS decides to shoot up, it's gone. Like it's gone. So it's gonna go right back and it's gonna struggle again with that 22,200. So overall, for me, I think we're gonna get a lot of consolidation this week, especially with the news. Like we're gonna get some big consolidation movements. If we break that bear, so I'm still leaving this as a tentative bear week target, still 19,630. I know it's so close. So it's like I don't want it to be a situation of like misinterpreted to where like, oh Brent, well, yeah, it's so close. How are you not gonna hit that target? We may not, because it literally could just keep on going from here, guys. Understand that too. But it's so important that that number hits 19,630. When that breaks, then we have to go into psychological mode. 19,500, 1900, all that stuff. Because now there's not really much from this 19,600 down to this 18. Like this whole 1,000 gap, there's not really much strong to like pinpoint a number. So it's more psychological until we come down to these zones where we took a ton of trades, as you guys could see in the past months. There was a lot of action, just the same way we're doing a lot of stuff here. There was a lot of stuff down here. So for now, really, my only focus will take it like almost in a sense like day by day. First, I needed to come down to that 19,630, break it, and then we start grabbing whatever traces it leaves. So what I mean by that, if it goes down and it breaks this 19, retest it, breaks it, then goes up, and then it keeps on touching this area. It goes up, keeps on, okay, well, then now we're focusing on here, right? Now this is the focus point that we're doing to buy off, sell off, just as it starts playing out and as the trades are starting to paint new pictures for us. But the primary target that I have right now as a bear is this. As far as bull, I mean, it's very similar situation, right? We go to that 2,500. It's an important number. Go to that 2,600, important. 26,700, important. Really, ultimately, what I'd be looking for again is that 22, right? The 22,200 ultimately. It's a very far number, but we have a lot of news. Will this news be favorable? I don't think so. Because in the short term, everything that's happening is not the best, right? In the short term, we're talking about, okay, there's tech companies like Apple and this and that saying, hey, we're going to start manufacturing chips and phones and this and then in the US in 2027. We're going to begin building in 2026. Begin building. We're going to break ground in 2027. So in the meantime, we're talking about 2, 3 years. We're going to be overpaying because it's coming from overseas from tariffs, which in the long run, it'll be better. It's exciting for what it can be in the future, but for in the short term, it can't. So it just depends on those investors that are already in it, how they're looking at this. Are they taking on something exciting? Are they going to hold? Are they going to freak out and sell? So it's going to be a lot of that movement. I think this week we're going to be really heavy on the retail side. And we've been seeing that more and more, and it's good, right? It's a power to the people situation. We've been seeing it on the Bitcoin side of things too, on the crypto side. Like we saw a big movement on the crypto, and we spoke about the last week because the summit was announced. everything jumped like crazy. And if you looked at the blockchains, it wasn't that there was any whales moving millions of Bitcoins. No, it was just an accumulative amount of people across the world getting excited about it and they boosted it up, right? So we're starting to see a little bit of that as well on the NAS sector of things. So really just, again, in short, looking for that 19630. If it goes up, we'll look for prior levels that left low highs, high highs, change of characters, all that good stuff. I'm getting an update this week, guys, on the scanner, so that way it'll be a lot easier for you guys. So when you have my scanner and you have Rich's Liberty scanner, you have both of them, combine them, it'll be a lot easier. So when, as this progresses, for example, you're already reading in the past where these change of characters happen, where these breakup structures happen, to be able to grab those as entry points, right? Potential entry points for there. So that's it on the NAS side of things. Gold, super quick. It's going to be 30 seconds, guys. As I said last week, we're going to consolidate. We're going to find our little zones where we could go ahead and buy off, and we're going to take it. That's all it did. And as you can see, it basically, I know I have a bunch of lines here because this was from the last prior session, but literally, guys, just look at the line up with the paint right now, okay? Here, here. That was all we could go. Nothing crazy exciting. Sent a bunch of tap the trades. I know a lot of people made some money on that too. Awesome. I'll be looking to do the exact same thing this week. But same thing for me for gold, really. I mean, it's consolidation. There's not really anything else interesting right now as far as where gold is. Consolidation. Consolidation with the set of news, it could drop down into that 28, 600, 828, 2860s, maybe somewhere around that ballpark. For a high, it could finally reach that 3,000. So again, not much to go off, nothing super exciting on it. It just consolidated literally all week. And that's probably what I'm gonna do again. Literally. Here's where the week started. Consolidation. That was your whole week. That's probably gonna be your whole entire next week on gold. But that's it for me on that side. If you want to, I'll go ahead, Rich, too, might as well, since I have the chart. XLM. XLM came down to 26 cents. 26 cents. Again, we were waiting for 18 to 20 cents. It's really close there. I think it could still happen. I'm still waiting for XLM to come down into that 18 to 20 cent mark, which would be down here. Still waiting for that. That is my entry point, as I mentioned before in prior calls. Our ultimate target will be $4 to $4.20. Our ultimate target. No stop loss, gang. Being that it's only 18 cents. So no stop loss getting to that one. Still looking for it, still excited. It's still giving a good pattern. It kind of broke my harmonic pattern, but not fully. It's still kind of there. It's still kind of there. It's still looking good. So I'm still waiting on that one, of course, to happen. ADA dropping. ADA is going to follow XLM. So whenever for like a lot of people have asked my entry for ADA, what's my next entry? Or obviously still have our prior investment into that 25 cents. I'm hoping it doesn't drop lower than that. But the moment that XLM goes to 18 cents to 20 cents is the moment that I'm buying ADA as well. I'm buying them both and I'm riding them both together. Chainlink is dropping, guys. Thankfully, Chainlink is dropping. I still want to see that Chainlink come down into that $8 range. It would be really nice, anywhere between that $9 and $7 range. Ultimately, I would love to see $3. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But that's going to be another target range for Link as well. And then I know that Rich, you had mentioned with XRP, your target is $1. So once that happens on that, I'll be entering on the dollar side of things as well for XRP. But I think that's it really for me. I think that's it. Rich, anything else, brother?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Bitcoin, because we've been following up on that weekly. Last week we definitely smacked it on the money, bro. About Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Um, so let me share a screen here. So with Bitcoin, guys, I had told you, or I think when we talked, bro, we saw that we had like a massive spike up during I don't know if like Trump talking about it, and there was like the White House. Remember there was like this whole thing where they were like talking about crypt like XRP and all these things becoming part of the government. I don't know. I remember we just started shooting up like crazy on Sunday, and we both were like, bro, this move is BS. Like, this is not a real move. And I told you guys on the session, I'm like, at the end of the day, even though I didn't think it was a true move, we gotta respect it for what it shows in the chart and see what it does. But for the most part, I let you guys know that, hey, look, there was two main levels that we gotta pay attention to. One of them being that like 91,000, 90,000 price point, where we had this key level, right? We saw price interact with all of these touches at this price point. The other one being the very significant key level that kind of broke and created the new all-time highs, which is basically 75K, right? The 75K range. And we were gonna have to really basically play off of those two levels as far as what our bias is gonna be. Let me take this off because this is tripping me out. And so I told you guys on the session, I'm like, look, if we start to break back below that key level of like 90,000, 91,000, it's because we're going to continue lower. And if we do continue lower and we get a retest, if we start to really break and close above, these higher points, then we could potentially see again, like, new all-time highs, or at least getting back into the 100K pluses. But if we were to break below 90, retest 90 and reject, we were going to be gunning for 75. And it seems that that is definitely the scenario that is taking place. So there's going to be pullbacks. I wouldn't even be surprised if we do kind of test the 90 area again here. But for the most part, again, we broke below, tried pushing above, rejected, pushed above, rejected. So it's looking like we're going to be holding that level, and we should be getting down to 75. Now, nothing's really changed. Again, for me, like, I'm not day trading Bitcoin. I'm not, intraday positions on TradeLocker or anything like that. For me, like, I'm willing to load up on a lot of Bitcoin, like heavy, if we get below like 50. But long term, if this is gonna really stick around, like the 70s, it's not my favorite area to buy, but technically, from a structures perspective, we shouldn't be breaking below this. Like we talk about support and resistance zones and all that stuff. Well, we don't talk about it, but it's something that a lot of people hear when they get into trading. It's like, well, if there's resistance, you sell resistance. Sometimes if you have resistance and then you break above it, that resistance now becomes support. And so to an extent, like, yeah, it is true, like those are phenomena that happen, and that's why people teach it. And that's basically what we have in this area. So, in correlation to that, we had price kind of create this key level here where price really had a hard time breaking above for quite some time until we had this massive rally lately to take us to new all-time highs above 100. But again, this was a very important level of transaction where we saw price basically make a really strong decision point here. And so we will return to those areas historically and then make new decisions from there. So from a technical analysis standpoint, you have a rally, a pullback, an expansion, a pullback, and now potentially an expansion into new all-time highs. So that's why I say it's not like a terrible buy spot here compared to where it's been. But ideally, with history showing us that Bitcoin, when it makes new all-time highs and runs out of gas, it will have more than 50% retracements. And so if you just do the math, a 50% retracement of 110 is basically lower than 75. You're looking at mid 50s, 60s, which is basically in this area. So that's why I tell you, like, anywhere from 30 to 50 is like, well, if you believe in Bitcoin and you're not buying at 30 to 50 at this point, then you don't really believe in it, or I don't know what's going on in your head. 70 is kind of like a midpoint, So I really use this more as a compass for the altcoins where we have higher return potentials. At this point, I feel like Bitcoin is something that, because of it being priced so high compared to what you can do with like altcoins, it's more of like a way for you to diversify your money, like how back in the day people would invest more in like gold and bonds and stuff like that. I feel like gold is just the modern storage of wealth for, multimillionaires, banks, hedge funds, whatever. So take it how you want, but I just don't see you flipping money like crazy on Bitcoin buying at 70K. Like, let's be real, if you buy a bunch of Bitcoin at 70 and it gets to 120, you still haven't even doubled your money. Now, that may sound greedy, but let's be real. In the crypto environment, we're not even looking to double. We're looking to 3, 4, 5, 10x plus, you know? So again, it's just understanding what assets are meant for what in your portfolio, you know? So yeah, I think just as a compass, it's good to know that Bitcoin should be continuing a little bit lower just because this gives me more assurance of like maybe we should hold off on buying some altcoins. Now, don't get me wrong, like some altcoins are gonna have their own seasons regardless of what Bitcoin does. But for the most part, like the more stable altcoins do flow with Bitcoin. So it's like I feel like the best time to buy altcoins is not yet, but that's just my humble opinion. You know, I still think other opportunities exist, like XRP back to $1. Like those positions for me do not change. You know, like everybody was very, very like I think people got very emotional about XRP because I don't know, bro. Like people just get so hyped whenever their coin of choice starts doing so well that they just throw logic out of the window. And yo, I made money on XRP. Like I was in below 70, 60 cents. So I cashed out. But when I cashed out, a lot of people were like, oh, you're dumb. Or like they low key wanted to tell me I'm dumb because it's like oh, XRP is going to freaking $100. It's like, all right, bro, that's fine. I'm gonna reinvest in XRP because it will get to $1. And I'm not saying it will get to $1 because I'm such a smartass. It's just like fair value gaps and retracement percentages historically in crypto repeat like clockwork. And what I mean, come on, dude. How many times do we got to see an all-time high get grabbed as liquidity with a massive retracement level for us to learn our lessons? You know, like I don't know. So I'm very cool with cashing out as I did on XRP a while ago and reinvesting it at $1. And it's not about $1 being such an important number psychologically for me. It just happens to be that that's where the fair value gaps exist here is at like $1.05. So basically at $1.05 or anywhere between 80 cents to $1.05 for me is like, oh yes, I will. I personally do believe in XRP and I will buy a lot there. And I know that, Brent, you've been talking about XLM, and I feel like they're going to be going hand in hand very heavily. Their charts are very similar as well. And for me personally, I think that the same exact type of fair value gap action that we're going to see on XRP, we're basically going to get that very, very soon, probably in the next several weeks, where we're going to get 20 cents on XLM. Anything below 20 cents for me is a green light to purchase and eventually take us back up into the 60s, which will be a 3x on my money. And that's why I would prefer to not even throw money at Bitcoin, but more like pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing so we can catch the altcoins that give us those 3x plus returns and keep it pushing. So my plan has not changed. We're just finally seeing the price actually behave the way we've been waiting for it to behave. So yeah, guys, don't be scared now when crypto starts pushing to these really low levels because that's where you should be excited to buy, not when it's pushing high. But again, it's just my opinion at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's it on my end, bro. I don't even really look at gold anymore. So whatever, you know, focused on NAS, diversify into cryptos, and blow up Akashx and our YouTubes. Like that's my day in and day out. So that's really it. I haven't really checked the chat though. I want to see if we can check the chat here really quickly
I was
and see if maybe we got some questions in here or something. I usually try to keep tabs on there, so my bad, guys.
I know somebody just asked about
Uh,
I mean, Picoin. I know that came out years ago and I downloaded did that and I forgot about it completely. So I have no idea that Picoin. I know it was some sort of project, but never did none of that at that point. Pablo, tenemos que buscar el tipo como de AI para que nos haga las traducciones. Lo trabajaremos pronto.
yeah, I just saw those questions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, bro. I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover specifically. We kind of went through everything pretty fast today.
Yeah, no, obviously just everybody that's outside of the United States, keep in mind to look at your calendars just to make sure you're still catching Rich and I live on our normal sessions. For us, we live in Texas, guys, so our time technically didn't like change, but it changed, but it didn't change. You know what I mean? So for you guys, it's a little bit different now. So just make sure you're asking Google, World Time Buddy, anything like that. Just make sure you don't miss the session. So Rich is on obviously in Spanish on Monday. I'm on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, along with Rich as well, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Rich is on 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch us. Mindset Monday tomorrow on my YouTube channel. Make sure you tap in for that. The replay is uploaded obviously right away. I know Rich just dropped a really cool video as well on his YouTube channel here, so make sure you go look at that. On the we always speak about like prop firms, which are amazing, right? It's a good way to jump. I know Rich's right. This last video really talks on the self-funding side, how to start from a lower account. So definitely go watch that, give him a like. That's really interesting, a different side of how to look into the trading things. That's always good. Keep an eye on my TikTok, like I said, because I'll be trading now CPI, PPI, all that type of
Yeah.
I'll be trading that on TikTok since now I know that there's only a 1 second delay. So that's amazing. Because the last ones that I've done on Zoom to make sure that there's no delay, we cap out at 500. And then I get a bunch of messages of like, it's closed. I can't get in. I can't get in. So we'll be on TikTok doing that. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that TikTok live trading was dope, bro. You had Marianne inspired. She's like, bro, this is so dope. I'm like, how have you never seen this, bro?
It's
But yeah,
cool.
that was cool to see you on there. Hey, if anything, I just thought about it. If you want to talk at least for like a few minutes on last week's results. So I know most of us are here in Akashex. Some of us may not be a part of the program yet. So I just want you to be able to give yourself the flowers, bro, of your performance last week. I know you had your flyer and everything, just to show people like why they need to be consistently plugging into you and following RST. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of people have started catching up to RST, which, I mean, if you guys don't know, this is exactly why you gotta be following Brent very closely. It's not just about a strategy, guys. A strategy can only take you so far. It's about how you approach your accounts as far as your risk approach and scaling. So yeah, bro, talk to them just a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So last week was great. Like I said, we had a ton of opportunities, and that's the biggest thing as far as seeing the numbers, right? So the numbers, obviously, when we've spoken about this, there's a call that I have on a replay session. Let me get my little book out here because I can see exactly the breakdown, right? So there's a session that I spoke about RRs, the importance of that. You can find the replay there too on Akashics, right? Importance of RRs, importance to not just always fall by just the win ratio, things of that nature, right? So yes, we had a great win ratio last week as well. We had a great amount of pips, and that's really the important side of things is the pips. Because we've had weeks too where it's like 8 and 8, but the pips are over 1,000, right? We've had weeks. I know like Rich had a couple of weeks. It was a couple while ago where he had like 1 win, 2 losses for the week. And you're like, damn, that's only 3 trades and you lost two. But his pips were like 4,000. So that's the important of what we're looking at that, right? And like last week, yes, we started off right away the week with a bang. We had one tap to trade for 30 pips. We lost 30 pips. We had another one for 30 pips. Then we had a trade alert for 300 pips. Tap to trade for 10 pips. Then we had a live session. We lost 200 pips, but then we got 300 pips, 200 pips, 300 pips in the same session itself. Made a tap to trade for 30 pips, lost the trade alert for 300 pips. Then came back the next day, had a 500 pip trade live. 3 more tap to trades came through that same day. 2 of them won, 1 of them lost. We actually broke even there. And then we closed out the week, right, with the trade alerts and then that extra trade that was called on TikTok Live, right? That extra trade itself is what matters. So that's what I'm telling you guys. So I broke it down this way just so you could see, right? The entire week we were having a good week. The entire week. If it wasn't for that last trade alert, we would have had like half of the pips we have. And that's what I'm saying. It's really that one trade. That one trade is what completely could shift your week, right? That one trade. We were gonna have still a good week. It was gonna be 13 and 3, right? It was gonna be 12 and 4, and it was gonna be for like 15, like 1,200 pips. 12 and 4. 12 and 4 is still an amazing win rate, right? But then the pips, look at that difference, that one trade. And it's important that's why you follow RST. So RST is a risk management plan that's allowed me to trade through multiple funded accounts, being able to make sure that I stay here for the long run, right? I make sure that my accounts stay alive. I need to have 20 red days in a row. 20 days that I say, okay, you know what? I'm capped out for today. I'm done. I'll come back tomorrow. 20 of those in a row. Knock on wood, that's never happened in my career, like never. Because I've been blessed always to be in the right communities, be in contact with the right people, have mentors. Shout out to Luisito. Have mentors, right, that have taught me the importance of this to where, yes, I've burned accounts because I've been emotional and stuff like that. And I break the rules, right, to where I might burn an account in a day. But when I'm actually sitting down and I'm focused and I'm following my risk management plan, never had to burn an account. If I ever burn an account after that point, it's just because it's an error mistake, right? Like, oh, I wasn't supposed to trade on weekends and I forgot to close the trade. Oh, I was going to do a 2 lot and I did a 20 lot. Like, I pressed an extra little thumb went past a little bit. It was genuinely, I was not wanting to do a 20 lot. And next thing you know, it's gone, right? Little things like that. But it's super important that you guys follow the trading plan that Rich and I both created. So we have that video there. We have the PDF for you guys. We've already provided in the community. RST, you'll be able to find that as well in the community, so you'll be able to get that there. I'm going to work a little bit more in detail on the RST as well, like break it down and more individual stuff. So that's coming too. And then, yeah. And then lastly, I know I might as well mention it here because it's been asked for like crazy, crazy. As you guys have seen, I've been working more and more on the future side of things. I've been trading that a lot more. And I repeatedly get asked the question of like, how do I do that? How do I make my screen like yours? That's coming, guys, this week. I know tomorrow it's on my to-do list. My to-do list is to start recording that like boot camp that I'm going to have. I'm not going to do it live. I'm going to record it separately so you guys could see there how to set up your Tradovate account for futures the exact same way that I have mine. It's a long step. There's a lot of stuff you have to do. So that's why I want to record it more in a step-by-step where you could pause and play that part. But that's that for the week. Again, amazing week. Looking forward to have another amazing week full of those results, along with Rich. So the NAS Bros could be the NAS Bros and keep on popping up these crazy NAS trades back to back, and let's do it.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So yeah, guys, we already know. We got, as far as events go, we got a lot of stuff that they're planning. Like Fort Lauderdale in July, and they're gonna be doing like a Euro tour, I think in May. So you're gonna be seeing, if you guys are in Akashex, a lot of different events pretty much popping up all around the globe very, very soon. Me personally, I'm gonna be on a family trip starting like in a week and change from now. So once I'm on that trip, I'm gonna have to change my sessions around a little bit. It's gonna be a little tough to be honest, because my time zone is gonna be different. I'm gonna be like not really focused on the charts too much, but I usually do a trip like that like once a year. All the other trips are really like business related for trading and Akashics and everything. So I'll keep you guys posted with that aspect of things. But yeah, for this week, we definitely want to hit it hard before I go on that trip. Um, yeah, I mean it's pretty much it. So cool. Let's see if we got any last minute questions here on the live before we wrap it up here. All right, cool. Yeah, looking solid here. All right. Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's pretty much the bulk of what we needed to talk about for Sunday Market Outlook. So as always, we do appreciate you guys for tapping into these calls. Again, as Brent mentioned, daylight savings did kind of switch our time here in the US. Bro, can you believe I didn't even know that that wasn't a thing like everywhere? So yeah, I don't know if you saw because Joel put it in the
Yeah,
chat, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's crazy to me. I can't believe
It used to.
that I don't
It
know
used
that.
to though. That's the thing. When daylight changed, everywhere changed. But or even if it was like now it would change right now, and then a week it would change in Mexico, but for everybody. But now, as far as I know, in the entire world, the US is the only one that changes time, as far as I know. In the world, the entire world. We're the only ones. We're the individuals. We're not team players. We're the only
That's
ones
crazy.
that changed time. So still, guys, where if it was 8 a.m. yesterday, if it was 8 a.m. last week, it's still gonna be 8 a.m. next week. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be the same unless you're in a different part of the world outside of the US. If last week you used to watch us at 8 and 9 a.m., it might be now 7 and 8. You know what I mean? For you outside of the United States. Everybody else, you're good. Don't worry about it. But Kim told me last night, she was like, hey, we're changing the time. I'm like, why? I was like, what do you mean daylight savings? I was like, oh, when? She's like, tonight. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I
I
didn't
had
even.
a feeling though because I went out like at 4 the other day, like 2, 3 days ago, and I was like, yo, the sun is a little too bright for this time. And I'm like, I feel like we're gonna change time soon. And I didn't ever like read it anywhere. And then last night we just see the time jump, and I'm like, I knew it, bro.
I knew. Well, it's
So
difficult that in Canada they change it too, then I guess still. And in Europe they do it as well. Okay. I know Mexico doesn't do it anymore. I don't think any of Latin America does it anymore at all. They don't do that.
yeah, yeah, Colombia is a big part of. Akashics now. So that's why we needed to get that message out there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that Joel was on that because we need
Yeah.
to see it. Um, cool, man. Well, yeah, bro. Excited for your Mindset Monday call tomorrow for sure. Excited to see you trade news as well on different platforms. That's always dope to innovate. But yeah, guys, much love to all y'all who are always tapping into our Sunday calls. Please make sure if you guys are not already to subscribe to both my channel and as well as Brent's, as Brent is pumping out more and more content, going live more consistently as well. Obviously, catch us on Akashics. That's where you're always going to get the most value out of us, right? We're always going to give our trades and our most secret, top secret intel information in the private mentorship with Akashics, as always. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys. Definitely, like Brent said, check out the last videos we've posted on our channels. And be on the lookout. There's a lot of promos as far as TradeX and as well as Trident markets as well for deposit bonuses, 50% off some of the challenge accounts. So just make sure you guys, if you remember what we talked about at the beginning of the year about acquiring max funding, about diversifying, like all the stuff we talked about in December and January, like putting into motion 3 months into the year now. So yeah, awesome. Well, appreciate you guys, Brent. Thank you too, bro, for always being here.